Prema de Cruz.
Growing up can be a series of short, happy steps, or you can grow up very quickly when faced with hardship. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, I grew up in Kuala Lumpur, and I went from 9 to 19 years of age in just 3 short weeks. In 1972, my father built a new house in Kuala Lumpur while continuing to work several hundred kilometers away. Mum and I moved in while he completed his work. It was a tough time. Mum and I lived by ourselves with our dog Major to keep us safe. Major was a huge German shepherd, fierce looking, but with a heart of gold. The days rolled by with my father keeping in touch with us by phone every day. I went to the Asunta Convent School, and Mum would wait for me patiently every afternoon with a hot meal and for news of my day. On May 13th, 1973, racial riots broke out in Kuala Lumpur, and the authorities moved quickly to call a curfew. That afternoon, I planned to stay back in school, but something did not seem right. I decided to return home. I was lucky. When I reached home, Mum looked relieved to see me. We listened to the radio, and we heard about the rioting and killings in the city. We were two scared hearts in a big city. The radio announcer called on people to stay indoors and mentioned the areas that were hit hard by the rioters. Some of the areas were close to our doorstep. We were terrified. The days rolled by, and we got really, really worried. Mum and I went about securing the house, barring the doors and windows, and chaining the gates outside. The council erected barbed wire barriers at both ends of the street to restrict rioters. Telephone lines were cut down. Dad tried frantically to contact us, but he could not. We were marooned. Two scared women, all on their own, and Major. Every morning, Mum would wake me up and send me off to the local markets with a list of groceries, a fistful of dollars, and some change. I would hop on my red bicycle and cycle quickly down to the markets. As I neared the barbed wire barriers, my heart would beat faster. What could be lurking behind those barriers? As I raced to the Sungai Way markets, I would prepare myself for the chaos as people jostled to get their shopping done quickly and urgently while the curfew was relaxed. And then I would hop on my bicycle back, and I'll pick up some bones for Major and rush back to my cycle and cycle quickly back home. Every day I survived. Every day I grew a little older and wiser. Mum and Major would wait anxiously at the gate for me. Major would bark furiously and wag his tail happily as one of his special girls was returning home safely. Mum would give me a hug and we would quickly go inside and lock up. The days dragged by, with Mum making us wonderful meals from the few items I got from the markets. We would even cut some meat off the bones for ourselves. Major was happy to share. One evening, there was loud banging on the door. We were frightened. Someone had got over the gates and was banging on the door. We were terrified. Our hearts were beating swiftly. My mind raced. What should I do? Then I dug my elbow into Major, and he let out a ferocious bark and ran to the door. His loud barking and a seemingly empty house did the trick. Everything went quiet. That day, we heard on the radio that the rioters had torn down the barricades and had swept through the area. Many lives were lost that day. Many houses were sacked. And for a long time afterwards, fear lurked over our suburb. I learned a lot in those 3 weeks. I learned to face hardship on my red bicycle, full on. I learned that when the going gets tough, even children can get tough. But most of all, I learned that 2 strong hearts and a Major can build a fortress against a hostile world outside.
Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, did you ever reach a point in your life where you just